you're saying.
Yes, I try, you know.
Nah, serious thing. We are here again, Baldhead and the Dread podcast. We give thanks for everyone tuning in. Fire, what reason about today?
Well, today, the reason is a powerful reason, you know. Basically, I send a message to all of the brothers them out the way. We really, I hold on tight. And I want to make them know this, say, you have to be careful of the woman where you choose in your life same way. Because it's a thing where it can make you and it can break you. And because we have a lot of audience who know have a Christian Christian mindset. I know we probably can relate to the Bible in a sense. I know this was even mentioned in the Bible to see you, so probably they can even read that.
Serious thing, and we're gonna pull it up here, and we are reading from the NIV. Was that New International Version?
Yeah.
All right, cool. It's Proverbs. It sounded the way we read it from the Bible, but we using this as an example, right? All right, so it's funny. It's Proverbs 21:19, right? And it says, better to live in a desert than with a quarrelsome and nagging wife. And far right, I just want to tell you, right? I was thinking, well, when we're discussing the topic, is just that, like, the person who wrote it, now, for all my Bible scholars out there, we're not trying to get into who wrote it and go way down the rabbit hole. No. We're just using this for context, right? But whoever wrote it, right, had to either experience or witness something so dreadful to write it down to warn future men about this experience. Now, think about it. Think about how sent out this man had to be to go write it down for him.
A real talk.
You get what I'm saying? Because most men, now, you know how the thing go. Most things are internal, right? Maybe you'll tell somebody, this man wrote it down. So what could have he observed that pushed him to that?
Yeah, they get trapped in a corner because enough time a man realize you might have a particular mindset, and your mindset I look towards being just joyful and being free. And in order to really carry out that task efficiently, your brain need to be clear. But then if you have a woman who now can make your brain clear or actually corrode your brain or corrupt your brain to a certain extent, it will show you off, and then that will make your life become miserable too.
Yeah, I observed personally, right? I can speak from personal experience. Obviously, I can't tell the names. But I've witnessed personally numerous men who their potential has been stunted due to the woman that they were with. The greatness that they had inside of them, the talent, the skill set, the brilliance was stunted due to the woman that they had. And we do encourage the young brothers to, you have to have a vetting process when you're going to choose your life mate, right? Obviously, we focus on aesthetics too much. Everything is aesthetics and money right now, right? Occupation and looks and all these things. But I think the first thing we need to get into is the family history and what's going on that side of town. Her relationship with her family, the family's relationship with each other, the history of these abuses, history of the mix-up. We need to clear the air on that, history of mental illness, because all these things have impacted her, and in return will impact you and your family that you have with her. How they respond to vexation. How are they with obstacles or difficulties in life? What is their resilience like? What's their work ethic like? Are they open to constructive criticism? Do they provide constructive criticism? That's a key component too, that you need your mate to provide you with constructive criticism, because you don't want someone that's just sitting there agreeing with everything you're saying. And at the same token, you don't want someone that's just disagreeing with everything. You know what I'm saying?
Balance.
You need a balance, because I know a lot of, how will we say this? A lot of cultures within relationships they say it's healthy because no one says anything to each other. There's like no one acknowledges anyone. And I think that's just as detrimental or even more detrimental than when you have it on the flip side where it's very abusive and toxic.
You see, and something very crucial where I feel like no for the brother them have to pray this, because look, every attribute or characteristic that you mention, yeah, that's good for knowing, but the person that's in front of you, how have all of these things shaped and created who they are currently right in front of you, not just the person that they present themselves to be.
Facts.
It who they really are, like, because if you as a man now, and you sometimes you can reason with a woman, and reach a different stage with a woman, and you still don't really know who she is, because she tell you certain things, because she might say you even progressive and she want to ensure that she have that stability. But then once you give her that reassurance now that this is okay, this thing is good, we're on this particular level, we're looking to climb, then that true person start to come out now. And what if that true person come out and you know as that individual not satisfied, or this turn out to be something that drain your energy? Because that's the key thing when enough people are run from and don't understand. When as a bridging, if you have a sister and your sister drain your energy, that's when your whole life gone outside of you. Our energy of a bright, and she have a spark of radiance and resilience. So, all right. You see, if me come in and my meditation feel down, she can give me the energy and the boost to lift me up, just based off of the person who she is. Like vice versa, I can do the same. But it is the energy itself, because we can always talk about vision, and we can talk about the way how the family energy, the family history, and all of these things. But if her energy is not up and something that's helping you to move forward, just believe, your whole life are in a shambles, because energy is everything.
Yeah, and it's I don't know, man. I think that obviously the kids a situation. Like if you have kids with someone early, um, obviously that plays a big role
Yeah.
why many men stay, truthfully speaking, right? But if you don't have kids, right? If you don't have kids and you observe certain behaviors, and it's not saying just to jump ship. Obviously, you give room for time to see if the person's has the capability of growing or changing, or even the willingness to change.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't, which many people don't have, because this change thing I think is unfair for a lot of people, because you're asking someone to change like the essence and being of themselves. And most people don't have the capability to do it. It's a conversation we don't want to have, because like, oh, you can change, but like, no, they can't. Most people don't have the skills or the work ethic or the courage or the faith to change. It's just not in that person. But I think the way it's presented to sell books and sell programs, whatever, like everyone can change. And obviously, if you observe the world and people's behavior, you can see people really don't change. Majority of people. And I think you have to really provide the chance and see if the person's, as I said before, willing to work on certain things. And if they're not, and you may want to jump ship, because you're going to be 30, 40 years in the game. Fight ain't nothing worse than an old bitter man.
Ooh.
You get what I'm saying? That man that just had that just disgust that he really flopped out his life because he didn't make different decisions.
See, you said that a while ago. And it really, really funny. But before me even address the particular, because I have something to say about the bitter man part, right? And some factors that really contribute to this thing. But then I mentioned change, and I really feel like there's one particular thing we want to dive in regards to this change, substantial change. Because it's not just change, it's substantial change. Because there's many times, even if you as a man can try to bring a woman and say, all right, yeah, uplift our meditation to a certain levels because you want things to work. But guess what now? That change where you used to know after 3 years, you see this particular change is making change, but this change is still not at the level where you at. So because of that now, you have to pull so much weight, regardless of the change. You might be a pull 100 pound first. I mean, now you're pulling 90 pounds, but 90 pounds is still a lot. So not because of that change now, it take off 10 pounds, but there's still so much burden there that this thing is still going to set you back. So it's not like, so it has to be substantial change and not just change, because there's one part where you have to be selfless and think about the general situation of not just looking at you, but looking at the relationship from a holistic perspective. But there's this next part where you have to be selfish to an extent and say, okay, if this change is being applied, yes, but it's not being applied substantially. this thing is still putting a hamper on my life, and that in itself no is something where you still have to look into as a man.
And hold your argument with the bitter man, because I just want to add something with this conversation. One, this applies to both sides. So people get we just dealing with men. This applies for both sides also. But in regards to the change too, man, I think we have to put things in context and have a checklist in the sense that obviously the person that you with, hopefully they're not 100% bad. So you have to see what attributes they do have that helps.
Yeah, pros and cons.
Pros and cons. You get what I'm saying? And if there are certain things though that's just like, oh, this is too wild, this can't work. You know? Those are the things where it's like kind of the deal breakers. But if there's a lot of other attributes there that are great and beneficial, you yourself now have to see what can you work with and how do those things impact the mission. First of all, if y'all even on the same mission, you get what I'm saying. But once you clarify that, you have to see like, you know, how do these behaviors impact what's going on? How do they impact me? I think the main thing though, people need to understand, and I hope we relate to this, is that you can't, and the scripture that we reference, you can't be in a house with a woman fire that's quarrelsome and nagging and negative. You get what I'm saying? And they can't have a conversation without this excitement.
You know? Panic, like a panic.
Yeah, everything doesn't have to be this big excitement and this big, you know, vibe. You know, there has to be a level of both on the male and female side, you know? Has to be a level of level-headedness and respect. That's the thing I can say with my marriage, is like we respect each other. Certain things, it's just the respect doesn't allow certain things to come out because it's that respect there. People don't cross that line. But I've seen a lot of relationships like based on the interaction, there's no respect there, fire. You get what I'm saying? And it's like, how can that work? Because like the base, they don't respect each other.
Yeah.
And they're there for whatever reason, and they just draining out each other energy and draining out each other time. Because like, contrary to popular demand, a lot of men don't want to leave. Yeah?
All right.
They keep it a buck. They always talk about men leaving, but a lot of men don't want to leave because they don't want to, like, if you just break it down, you've been with somebody for a while, and you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I got y'all little vibes, but you know each other, you know, you feel, you know, comfortable. Obviously, you have the feelings and you have the children. But it's like, I think that shows how bad a relationship is when a man leaves. Because last time I checked, I think like 70-80% of divorces are initiated by women. So those 20% of men that leave, like, they probably just like, yo, they got to be out of hand. Because the average man will hold it, yeah.
Yeah,
They'll just hold it and make it work. You get what I'm saying? And it got to be really bad for a man to leave. Yeah. So if a man does leave you, fight, you got to look into yourself.
You know, so that's the same reason come around again with the whole bitter man situation. Right. Because see the reason really connect, because when you go up on the ends and you see certain elders and certain different men on the ends, like, wait, what are you doing on a corner every day? Or every time I come on a corner, I can see you as a man who supposedly have a family. Most of these men, when you really start the conversation, most of them are always on the corner because they want to get away from the situation at home.
Facts.
And that I think is the starting of a bitter man. And a bitter man is somebody who, from my perspective at least, is somebody who actually, like, you can see all of the love sucked out and drained out of that individual, and they always
never want to be home.
Never really want to be home. A man who is always complaining about something. A man who is always end up start overthinking a whole lot of different things now, and that's how you become bitter. So I really feel like it connected, because enough time that is the first place, you know, when a man then also him realize, you know, the situation get too tense all the time and the vibes just draining. So what you know, the streets might have more for offer me. And then when the streets have more for offer, you know, you start come back, you know. Can you think about it, you know, if you're a king, you know, when you come home, you have a castle, you know. And you're supposed to feel comfortable in your castle. But if you are a king and you don't feel comfortable in your castle, then what you feel like a gum?
Hey, you know, you said something so important, right? And there are a lot of bitter men in a lot of arenas. but the area where I experience in retrospect, the most better men is in sports.
Mm-hmm.
Some coaches never want to leave fire. And I ain't talking about no mix up. I know you got the other half that's mixed up with the kids. I ain't talking about that, right? I'm talking about like coaches that like just always want to be outside of the house. Then as you learn, terrible marriages.
Mm-hmm.
And the sports is their outlet. That's their getaway or their excuse to get away from that.
Mm-hmm.
And they probably should have jumped ship from early on in life and just went about their day.
Yeah.
You know? And another thing I want to tell the young brothers out there too is that don't hang around people with terrible marriages.
They rub off on you.
They rub off on you. You know, you need to be around brothers that are, you know, there's truthful. You have your ups and downs about marriage, but it's not like this end of the world scenario.
Yeah.
And if you're around that, it will toxify you and because if you're around someone like that, right, and you're having an issue in your relationship and you talk to them, you're only gonna get one perspective, negative, and leave.
Yeah. And it start boost you up. It's almost like it boosts you up and carry you in the direction, and that's not the way of where you're supposed to.
No, that may not be the best thing for you. Your situation is not necessarily a leave situation. Your situation is a work through situation.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be around that type of energy of people who, you know, I've said that work through things and trying to make their marriage work, you know. So excuse me. You got to be very careful out here, man, with this marriage thing, you know, and also for the brothers too, man. It's just like, I don't know, man. It's just like you have some men that, you know, I said earlier in regards to like, you know, men don't want to leave, but sometimes it gets so bad because like after a while it becomes very disrespectful with the women.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I see someone really disrespect the men out here, yeah.
Yes, man.
Terrible, you know.
Yes, man.
Very
the vibes
disrespectful,
change.
you know?
So the vibes change, you know. All right. So say my advice to even most youth now, right? Here's it. When you're in a situation and you feel like the situation has become toxic and the energy becomes draining, try change your approach. And see if you change your approach and you realize that from a next angle, you still get caught and it still carry on that same type of negative feeling in regards to the same relationship. I feel like that is when you have to start contemplate about other options. And when you say change your approach, meaning say, like, sometimes you might have that full testosterone and you might be rough. And because sometimes when you bring across a message to a woman, even if the message is accurate, but she probably think you bring it off too coarse, so it don't resonate so much with her, and she start get that feeling, and that is what start bring the draining energy to. But what if you go and change it now and you bring it across from a softer approach the same way and try to get the message across? When you get that message across now, that is when you can truly know that, okay, I am the messenger, I deliver the message, and this is the direction where we can start going on now. And if that direction is still there's so many different alterations to that direction, that is when you have to really start think about it on a deeper level.
Yeah. I think too, man, a lot of men suffer with confidence issues. You know, they don't feel they can do better. That's a big situation that plays with it. But I think more than anything, it's just like once they start a family, you know, like dudes don't want to really leave their family, contrary to what everybody want to say.
Facts.
And a lot of dudes that's not with their family, it's probably not because of them too, regardless of what they would say and others would say in public.
You know, so the reason I go come under look of fire, but I feel like it's something where the people them need, especially when it comes to the men them. Because remember this conversation is geared towards the brothers, just so they can have a sense of direction, because I know a lot of them seeking for it. So I don't want anybody get it twisted and feel like it's a plot against women or
not
anything.
at all,
It's definitely,
because we got the same conversation in regards to women towards men. It's a universal experience. We're just talking about the men's side.
And then on the next levels now is where they mention something important where I don't want to overlook, because you see, can't do better. This is something we need to emphasize with the confidence thing and the self-esteem, because the self-esteem of most men, and I think it's a mindset thing. You see, this whole pretty thing, I want to have this girl who is physically attractive and all of this, and I got that girl who is physically attractive, but then if it don't work out, will I get another girl who is physically attractive as her? So you're so caught up in the physical that now the mental can't work the right way. And if you're caught up in the physical and the mental not working, then what direction will your life go into?
And you brought up a next good point, Farai. A lot of men need to develop their mental so they can actually be with a girl that does have a mental. Because a lot of them got to settle for the physical because they have nothing to offer mentally, spiritually, or guidance and all that vibe. So that's another aspect we have to put on there where the men themselves have to build up yourself and build up your psyche, build up your spirit, and build up all aspects of your life so you can offer that and hopefully attract something in that realm compatible, they would say, or even better. That's another thing we should have said that earlier. The men need to build up themselves because it's like, energy, the magnetism of it, and maybe you are attracting what you are.
Lots of attraction.
And maybe you get what I'm saying? And like this
Very
is
important.
this is just where you are and this is the psyche that you have. So you attract somebody else with the same type of psyche. So you yourself now will have to kind of get in the lab and get some work done to attract and be in a place to sustain something on that level.
Even a 10 push-up, brother.
You know what I'm saying? No, seriously, because it's like a lot of guys, it's a lot of deception on both sides. Like men want to attract this thing that they're not, and women want to attract this thing that they're not. And
Delusional.
Delusional. That's the term, And I think you have to put yourself in the place to attract that type of thing. And unfortunately, many people aren't in that place, and they have this vibe of delusion, as you said. But there is a lot of work to do, and that's the thing. A person may have to look within themselves and say, man, like have that truthful conversation. Say, I need to get better, man.
Yo, this reason is a needed reason enough for you because a bridging don't overstand. You have to ooze confidence, you have to say confident for maintain a direction, whether it be in your household or anything you deal with. But for the sake of this, we're talking about relationship. If you don't ooze confidence, then ooze self-esteem, then that's when everything start crumbling in your life and your relationship. Enough people not even overstand that.
And the confidence thing, they have this confidence and arrogance, confusion. And the confidence really comes when your track record is there. You get what I'm saying? Like, you put in that work. Listen, if you want to solidify your personal confidence, you need to put in work. Mm-hmm. And if you're not putting in no work, then your confidence is going to be shaky. You yourself, you can lie to people, but you yourself know your track record. And you have no track record. You need to consistently build up yourself in different aspects of your life.
That's a fact.
And I think that's where a lot of the brothers are faulting. But I want to get back to the word. I want to get back to the scripture. Right? I want to get back to the scripture. And
preach, brother, preach.
On a serious note, right? Listen, whoever I said this man observed this thing, he wrote down this thing, and he wasn't lying. And you yourself, man, if you're in a house with a quarrelsome woman and you're not the cause of it, you should have put that earlier too. Because sometimes you're the cause of the quarrelsomeness, right?
True.
If you're in a house with a quarrelsome woman, a nagging wife, you may want to go to the drawing board now. Mm-hmm. I'm not telling you to jump ship, but you may want to analyze and see what's going on and have a serious conversation and see if this lady, your lady, can change or kind of tone down those behaviors. Because if you don't, you're going to flop out your life. Hey, I knew a Brazier personally, right? If you listen, you're going to know who I'm talking about. Brilliant Brazier, right?
Yeah.
The man was under so much stress, his meditation fire, like, he couldn't focus on anything, yeah. When he left his house, he was just so broken psychologically from the stress of his house, from the woman that he was with. He couldn't perform the tasks that he needed in his daily life to help his family out and improve his situation from the constant stress. Mm-hmm. And a lot of men are in that situation. By the time they leave the house, they just totally stressed out, fire.
Yeah. And a lot of men in the opposite situation. By the time them leave them house, them stress-free. So it's still Alex. You see the problem again. Because a man said the stress there. So
yeah, totally different when they leave the house.
And when they leave the house, they feel more free.
Vibe, yeah.
And I feel like this concept of this happy wife, happy life thing. Yeah. I feel like a lot of men carry through that concept and neglect themselves. So that your wife not supposed to be happy.
At what cost?
But at what cost? Like how that affect your psychology. And I feel like enough people just don't understand this one fact. not everybody is meant to be together. Not because
Facts.
you even have a journey or you
Yeah.
have a story thus far mean that you're meant to be together.
Yeah.
That's just not the case. Sometimes you and a female might be on a different wavelength, and even though time pass, you might try different things and it just don't work
Just
out,
don't work,
work the
fam.
right way. And it's not everything in life work that way or is meant for you.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that, but I think it's really a societal thing will come back to play.
No, the
And
pressure
and
fire.
it
People, the
help.
pressure, the observation being how people observe you, the families, then the family. You know, there's just so many factors that lead into people staying in a miserable situation.
Yeah.
Both men and women, you know.
Reality.
And if they're truthful with themselves, they would just jump ship.
You know, Abridging tell me already. Abridging really confessed to me and tell me already. Said the man said the only reason why him live in a house with him wife and dead is because of the youth them. The man said if it wasn't for the youth, then
Gone, long time
him
ago.
gone long time. And
Big
people
time, yeah.
him say to one and two people and people said to him say him can't think like that and him say, but that is the way him feel.